The Mario Party series has mini-games, and since I love Mario Party, what if I ranked all the mini-games it has to offer? How many does the series have again? 1,268? Well, seems like we're gonna have to go game by game. Well, what other place to start than Mario Party 1? Mario Party 1 is definitely a video game that exists, but hopefully the minigames will be at the very least decent. Spoiler alert, most of these are not good, but hey, Mario Party 1 has some good ones, so this video won't be completely negative. Mario Party 1 has 50 minigames in total. 24 4-player games, 10 1v3s, 5 2v2s, 10 1-player minigames, and an unlockable bonus game that can't be encountered in party mode. Well, let's get into it. This is every minigame in Mario Party 1 ranked. The most famous part about the original Mario Party isn't the fact that it started an incredibly long-standing and popular spin-off of the most famous video game series ever. It isn't because it basically invented the party game genre. No, it's because it's one of the few games that has caused genuine bodily injury. I'm sure you know the story, so I'll be quick. But because a few minigames in the title required you to spin the analog stick rapidly, and the best way to do that is to put your poor, sensitive palm over it, people got hurt so bad Nintendo was threatened with a lawsuit. Nintendo did give gloves to people who complained for a limited time, so I'm sure that made the medical bills and the hole in your hand worth it. But anyway, one of the minigames is pedal power, and the reason why it's below the others is because you just spin the analog stick. You're not even facing off against people because it's a single player minigame, so not only is your palm being destroyed, but it's boring too. Tug of War is just like pedal power, but you're actually facing off against each other, so it makes things a little more intense. Pedal power puts one person in the emergency room, and Tug of War puts 4. Character development. I also have no idea why this is a 1v3 minigame and not a 2v2, especially since Mario Party 1 only has 5 2v2s, which I just have to say is a little pathetic. At least seeing the character in a Bowser suit is kinda goofy, I guess. Paddle Battle is just Tug of War again. It's a 1v3 that requires stick spinning, and similar to Tug of War, I also have no idea why it's a 1v3. A 2v2 for this game would make a whole lot more sense. I guess this one is a little better because it has more interesting theming, but it's also like 3 times longer than Tug of War, so it makes unimaginable pain more likely. I don't know, I wouldn't trust either of them with my life, so I don't really care which one is better. Bash and Cash is our first minigame not to result in real-life pain, but in this case the solo player might decide to get violent because it's so unimaginably in the 3 players' favor that it's kinda insane. There are a lot of 1v3 Mario Party minigames that are unfair towards one of the teams. Spotlight Swim, Title Toss, Money Belt, even ones later on this list. But at least in those cases there's at least a small chance you can win or gain coins in them. And even if you lose, it's not like you lose anything in the board. But in Bash and Cash, the 3 players are tasked with both physically assaulting the solo player, as well as robbing them by taking their coins. And these coins aren't given in the minigame, they're taken from your wallet on the board. And the only reward the solo player can get is the chance to not lose any coins. And they don't even have that luxury if Bowser makes them play the minigame. If you avoid losing anything, Bowser says tough luck and decides to take 15 coins anyway. So the best strategy in that situation is just to lose a little bit of coins to the players so Bowser doesn't take any directly. If you want to show someone how absolutely unfair Mario Party 1 can be sometimes, just show them Bash and Cash. Castaways is another stick spin game, but unlike the ones below it, where all you have to do is destroy your hand, Castaway actually has a bit more variety. You have to time a fishing rod cast to catch either a coin, coin back, or chest, the latter giving you 5 and 10 coins respectively. I think the act of timing how to catch something is kinda satisfying, but the minigame is just super slow and also requires stick spinning, so I don't think it's fun at all. There's some good ideas here, but in execution it kinda blows. Ground Pound is another single player minigame. Yippee! I'll just say that almost every single player minigame is really bad. They're pace killers because while playing the game, you don't get to play it, and you just have to watch the other players suck at it. and most of them just kind of blow as general minigames, even excusing that fact. Ground Pound involves memorizing which sticks aren't spiky at the beginning before butterflies cover them up, and you have to ground pound the flat ones before time runs out. The problem is that this is unbelievably easy. They give you more than enough time to memorize the locations because at most, there's like 5 sticks you have to ground pound. And even then, most of the butterflies don't fully cover their respective sticks, making it super obvious which ones are dangerous. And that's dangerous in air quotes, because no joke, you could probably ground pound the wrong stick like 5 times and still have enough time left to win. So yeah, this one sucks. Ever wanted to play a 1v3 minigame where the solo player is the only one who gets to do anything, and the 3 players just have to hope they mess up? Well, Pipe Maze has you covered. The solo player drops a chest down a pipe maze, and you just have to hope they accidentally pick you. Riveting. This isn't even that easy for the solo player because the screen scrolls by so fast, it's almost impossible to know which one leads to you. But hey, at least you get to do something. Keep Away is one of the few cooperative minigames in the first Mario Party, where the 4 players have to work together to win instead of all competing. These types of minigames basically never appeared in Mario Party again, at least until Super Mario Party put them in their own category. But anyway, Keep Away kind of blows. The player with the key just has to avoid some incredibly unthreatening enemies and put the key into the keyhole at the end of the room. It's honestly kinda impossible to lose if you aren't goofing around or purposely losing to make it so the other players don't get any coins. These Spike Koopas just aren't scary enough to really do anything to anyone. Also, what the hell are Spike Koopas? I don't think I've seen these guys outside this one minigame. I thought they might have been from Mario RPG, but no, those are called Terrapins. How interesting. Box Mountain Mayhem. You and 3 others have to destroy a pile of boxes and you get coins from them. It's as uninteresting as it sounds. Ghost Guess. Find the ghost who's the first one in the pattern. It's super easy and endlessly boring. Shell Game. It's a super easy shell game. At least they didn't lie. Deep Sea Divers is the last of our stick spinning games, which I know, it's weird one got this high, and by high I mean 39th place, but I honestly kinda like this one to some extent. One player has to find a treasure chest under the sea, the bigger ones give you more coins, but are farther down and weigh you down more, and the other player on your team has to sacrifice their palm to get you to the surface with the chest. I kinda like this because it does require cooperation. If the diving player isn't mashing to swim upwards with the boat player's stick spinning, you guys aren't getting anywhere. Also, if you run out of air while trying to get up, the chest might fall into a higher up rock, which makes it easier for the other team to get it up, which can be incredibly punishing if it's the biggest chest. But that doesn't mean this minigame is good. Far from it. When the diving player is trying to find a chest, the other player basically has nothing to do. And when they have to pull the player up, it's not exactly riveting. Also, it could cause a possible hospital visit, so yeah, this minigame also sucks. Crane Game. The solo player has to either pick up an object or a player. If they pick an object, they get a set amount of coins, but if they pick a player, they get a third of that player's coins. I swear, Mario Party 1 is ruthless. If you pick up a player, you have to outmatch them, but with the objects, that isn't a thing. This minigame is kinda interesting, but like Bash and Cash with the solo player, there really isn't anything the 3 players can win. They can either lose coins or not lose coins. This minigame is also insanely short, which definitely isn't a good thing. There's a reason this one is still a 1-star minigame. Starting off our 2-star games is Tightrope Treachery. 2-star minigames aren't as bad as 1-star ones, but they still aren't good. Tightrope Treachery is at least a minigame that functions, but it's heavily weighted towards the solo player, because unless the 3 players are incredibly accurate with their shots and constantly overwhelming them, the solo player is going to win. But hey, at least the 3 players can control where they move, unlike the Mario Party 2 version. Piranha's Pursuit might be the most infamous example of a minigame that is unbalanced towards one of the teams. And while I agree, I don't think it's as bad as Bash and Cash or even Tightrope Treachery, which is why it's ranked above it. It's true that the 3 players basically can't win if the solo player doesn't make any mistakes, but at least in this Mario Party 1 version, it's actually kinda hard to not mess up as a solo player. I think this minigame's reputation comes from its Superstars iteration, where, yeah, the solo player has an insane advantage. In Mario Party 1, the controls are just janky enough to make them unpredictable. And in Superstars, the controls are much smoother, which sounds like a good thing, but honestly isn't in this case. Also, the Superstars version is in widescreen, which makes it a lot easier to see upcoming obstacles. I don't think this minigame is good per se, but it isn't god-awful. Whack-A-Plant is probably the easiest coin minigame in the series. You just have to jump on piranha plants, which give you 1 coin each, and by the end of the game you can get 30 plus coins easily. At least killing these Smash characters is pretty satisfying, and it can be enjoyable, but its unbalanced nature does lower it quite a bit in my opinion. Memory Match is a memory match game. You have a minute to match all the panels. Not only is it insanely boring for people watching, but it's not exactly fun for the person playing either. But hey, at least it's a little more difficult than Whack-A-Plant. Coin Block Blitz involves the 4 players all hitting coin blocks. Some have more coins than others have less. This honestly might be the most uninspired minigame in the series, but at least it's not offensive. I think Balloon Burst is a fan favorite, and while I'm sorry to burst your bubble, somebody fucking shoot me. But anyway, I don't really like this one. I could never get the timing for pumping the balloon optimally, and it just gets annoying at a point. So the reason I don't like it is because of a skill issue. Yeah, but it's my list, so... Knock Block Tower at least requires timing and some amount of skill. You also only have 10 seconds to play it, so it's one of the more intense single-player games, and it's going to end a lot sooner than a lot of the others. I mean, the theme is insanely boring, there's really no cool ideas here, and it is painfully easy once you get the controls down, but hey, it could be worse. Limbo Dance makes you duck under some poles by mashing A. The more you push A, the farther you lean, and letting go makes you rise back up. You also lose if you lean too far. This could be interesting, but the player does a pretty obvious animation when you're about to lean too far back, so it's really easy after you figure out how to do it. Didn't stop me from losing the game after I cleared all the bars and was 2 steps away from the finish. Yes, I think I am the stupidest person to exist. Buried Treasure is a little bit interesting, but it's just a bit too luck dependent for my liking. If the chest spawns near you, you're most likely going to win. I think the signs that point to the chest location are an interesting idea, and definitely add some spice, but at the end of the day, this one just kinda exists. Musical Mushroom is musical chairs, but not really. After the music ends, the first player to hit the chest in the middle wins. No fighting against each other for a chance to make it to the next round, just go to the middle after all the characters go in a circle for no reason. Boo. Coin Shower Flower is really unfair for the 3 players, because the solo player can easily get all the coins before they ever fall off the flower. The 3 players can only get coins if the solo player fails to grab them, which is pretty bogus, but I do think there's something here. If the flower was smaller, wobbled around more, or both, I think it actually would be pretty interesting. Also, if the solo player falls off, the game just ends. The 3 players don't get to reap the coins and the solo player makes a grave mistake. They just get nothing. I don't know, this one isn't super good per se, but if they remade it in a game like Superstars, I think it'd be at the very least decent. Isn't it sad that we're halfway through the list and we're still not at the minigames I consider good yet? Anyway, Treasure Divers. It's deep sea divers, but it's 4 players and doesn't obliterate your palm from existence. It's fine. It exists. I've had some amount of fun here, but would I ever purposely come back? No. But that's it. We're done with the 2 stars. Now onto the minigames that are at the very least above average. Starting off our 3 stars is Coin Block Bash. It's Coin Block Blitz, but one of the players has a hammer that can hurt other players, but it can be taken from them. I don't know, this one is kinda fun. I like how the hammer can be taken away and used by other players, and its ability to break blocks in one hit allows some strategy. Do you break a block another player is trying to stop them from getting the coin? Because players without the hammers need to use multiple jumps to break blocks. Or do you break one at full health because you can break it in one hit, so why not? Also, attacking players with the sideways swings and watching them fly across the stage is really satisfying. This one is decent. Bombsketball is heavily weighted for the offense team, basically the ones with the bomb. Despite that, I still kinda like it. It's just really charming. The intense zoom-ins at the start make it seem like this is going to be the match of the century, and dunking a bomb into a Bowser statue's open mouth? Ooh, that's good. But the minigame is very flawed and unbalanced, even if it does have a lot of entertainment value for me. Hot Bob-omb is a really fun idea for a minigame. Basically, it's hot potato, but the loser gets killed. It's awesome. Sadly, the version of this game in Mario Party 1 isn't a last man standing game like it is in Mario Party 2. Instead, after one player blows up, the minigame just ends, and the 3 people who survived all win. This is just a lot less fun and makes it a lot more boring, honestly. Thankfully, this concept got another shot, so it's not all bad. Platform Peril is a pretty basic platforming minigame. Just get to the end of this pretty basic obstacle course. It's pretty fun, pretty balanced, even if it can be a little luck dependent because of the random obstacles, but outside of that, it's just a solid minigame. There are only 2 single-player minigames left on the list, which should really speak to their general quality. In second place is the very creatively named Slot Machine. It's a slot machine, but I honestly like this one because it's basically completely timeable if you just know the strats. Makes it pretty satisfying, honestly. Running of the Bulb is another co-op minigame like Keep Away from the bottom of the list. Unlike that one, I actually like Running of the Bulb. It just feels pretty intense with this massive boo chasing you and all these smaller boos trying to stop you. And unlike Keep Away, where the players not holding the key basically had nothing to do because the enemies were so unthreatening, the boo enemies can possess a player, and the others need to attack them to knock them out of it. And the player holding the bulb can't defend themselves or knock players out of being possessed, requiring a surprising amount of teamwork. I think the biggest flaw with this game is that if the players holding the bulb doesn't want the others to get any coins, they could just kill themselves, and there really isn't anything the others can do to stop them. But still, Running the Bulb is pretty unique and pretty fun in my opinion. Hot Rope Jump is a minigame kinda like Hot Bob-omb, where I really like the concept, but it truly only got great in Mario Party 2. In this first game, instead of being survival based, the 4 players just have to jump the rope 20 times, and whoever does so wins, which can be multiple people. In Mario Party 2's, it's last man standing, which is not only a lot more interesting, but a lot more fun. But still, the general concept is still here, and it's fairly enjoyable. Starting off our 4-star games is Mario Bandstand. While I can definitely understand why people wouldn't like this one, I actually quite enjoy it. It's a pretty basic timing and memory game, but the theming and satisfying gameplay are what make it fun to me. Being part of this orchestra is just really charming, and the Toads wearing suits? Oh my god, that's precious. A pretty standard game, but I think the execution makes it pretty good. Bowl Over is honestly just a really fun idea. I mean, playing bowling against your friends who have turned into bowling pins either sounds like a scene in the weirdest horror movie ever, or a pretty enjoyable Mario Party minigame. Yeah, the 3 players don't have a lot of control, but being able to spread out or even jump over the shell if you time a jump correctly adds just enough depth to make it enjoyable. I do definitely prefer the Mario Party 2 version with its multiple maps, and the goal being to knock everyone over instead of just stealing coins from the ones you did, but Bowl Over is still quite good in my opinion. Bumper Bowl seems to me like a minigame that everyone either loves or despises. The main reason people give for disliking it is that it lasts way too long, and more often than not, it ends in a draw. I definitely agree with that sentiment, but even so, I still generally really enjoy Bumper Balls. The Mario Party 2 version is definitely superior due to its multiple arenas, but the Mario Party 1 version is no slouch either. I think it's iconic for a reason, and the game is especially fun at the beginning when everyone's alive. And while it gets a lot slower when there's only 2 people left, I think the mind games that can be employed during a one-on-one make it a good time, especially when people start to get desperate when the timer gets low. Not a perfect minigame in the slightest, but it is still really solid and quite fun. Grab Bag is a minigame where players have to steal each other's coins by grabbing them from behind, and not in a demonetizing way. I think Grab Bag is really enjoyable. The fact that players can stop someone's attempt at robbery by outmatching them is really smart, and it makes the minigame what it is in my opinion. Do you want to attack someone but risk not getting anything while also not being able to move so you're a sitting duck? The mind games of having to surprise players so you can outmatch them before they even know what's happening, targeting players who just stole something from another player, especially if they just stole a coin bag, it's all good stuff and makes Grab Bag one of Mario Party 1's standout minigames. Can you believe they put Piranha's Pursuit, Castaways, and Tug-O-War in Superstars instead of this one? I wish I couldn't. Bombs away! Players just have to survive an attempted murder by pirates, but for some reason they're stranded on a 3-foot-long island that's also wobbly. If I had a nickel for every time a minigame fitting that description appeared in a Mario Party game, I'd have 4 nickels, which is honestly a bit too much. But Bombs Away is still quite good. It's hectic and fun, but there really isn't anything else to it. I do think it's a little too easy to stay on the island in this version, and while this has no bearing on the minigame's placement, I don't know why they brought back this version of the game in both Top 100 and Superstars, when the Mario Party 2 version is way better. Okay, how the hell did a single player minigame get up this high? Well, Teetering Towers, despite it possibly being from the worst minigame type in the series, is actually pretty great. You have to hop across falling towers to get to coins and coin bags. I really like how at the beginning of the game, when it pans down to the player, you can briefly see where the coins and coin bags are, allowing you to pick a direction with confidence instead of leaving it up to luck. The depth perception isn't the best, admittedly, and it can be hard to tell how far away you are from another tower, but that honestly makes it all the more satisfying when you get the timing down. Despite single-player minigames being garbage, Teetering Towers is not part of the problem. Desert Dash is just a pretty great reaction minigame. You and your teammates have to tilt the stick in the right direction to make it across the desert the fastest. Requires good teamwork and is quite fun for the most part. My biggest problem is probably the swamp at the end of the track, because getting squashed by it doesn't really mean anything. Arguably, it might be better to get squished because it slowly pushes you forward instead of having to wait in front of the swamp and waiting for it to rise. But outside of that small blunder, Desert Dash is pretty great. I think I might be the only person in the world to have Hammer Drop as one of their top minigames in Mario Party 1. The general consensus seems to be that this one is really boring, but I disagree. I think jumping all around this small platform trying to get the coins and coin bags while avoiding hammers is really fun and honestly kinda intense. While you can't punch foes, if you really want to ruin your friendship with someone, you can ground pound them. It's not optimal because you almost always would be rather chasing coins, but that honestly just makes it funnier. Hammer Drop is great, sue me. Bumper Ball Maze, the only minigame in Mario Party 1 that doesn't appear in party mode. It's exactly what it says on the tin. You traverse a maze with the controls from bumper balls, and that's really fun, honestly. It can be surprisingly tricky in some places, and lowering your high score on the 3 different courses seems like a good time to me. Too bad I have other things to do, like playing Kingdom Hearts 1 for the 13th time. Skateboard Scamper is good. Hey, I'm the one ranking 50 minigames here. I'm sorry if I can't masterfully explain why I think Skateboard Scamper is better than Hammer Drop. It's a fun obstacle course where you mash A to go faster, but there's a speed limit, so mashing A as fast as you can from the start is kinda pointless. But that is, until the end, where the speed limit goes away and you have to mash like your life depends on it. And believe me, it does. I think I prefer this one to a lot of other mashing minigames because mashing isn't the only mechanic here, and your skill at it doesn't really matter until the end. Also, I'm really bad at mashing. Bobsled Run is a bobsled race. It's pretty fun. I do think I prefer the Mario Party 2 version because of the more interesting level design and penguin buttholes, but this one is pretty close to that one in quality. I do think the mashing at the beginning matters a little too much, because it can be pretty hard to overtake someone in front of you sometimes, but that doesn't ruin Bobsled Run's quality. The last of the 4-star minigames is Tipsy Tourney. High quality minigame right here. You have to guide a shell across a square to flip over every panel, and while it has next to no depth, it really is a good time. But that's it. The next 6 minigames are the best of the best this game has to offer. Also, all of them are in Superstars, which is kind of funny to me. Crazy Cutters tests you with tracing a shape, and that's really it. Like Tipsy Tourney, it's not a deep minigame at all, but it's just fun. The controls are just loose enough to be interesting, but not too loose to be frustrating. Trying to trace the shape while going up requires a lot more concentration than usual, because the player character is blocking your view of what's immediately in front of you. And while others might not like that aspect, I think it makes things a lot more interesting. And the different Mario enemies launching out of the hole you made is super charming. Handcar Havoc is probably the only minigame in Mario Party 1 with a Mario Party 2 version that is way better in Mario Party 1. There are games where I prefer the Mario Party 1 version due to aesthetic differences, like Skateboard Scamper and Shy Guy Says, but gameplay-wise, they're basically the same. But Handcar Havoc actually has superior gameplay in the first game. In Mario Party 2, they make it so that you can no longer fall off the track, which honestly made the act of leaning the cart feel pointless and just made it another basic mashing minigame. Like, yeah, if you lean the cart correctly, you go faster technically, but that's not really that big of a deal. But in Mario Party 1, if you're going too fast or don't lean the cart correctly, you'll fall to the abyss, instantly losing. It makes it so much more than a mashing minigame because you have to make sure you're not going too fast, that you're reacting to corners correctly, and it requires a lot more teamwork. The Mario Party 1 version, people are yelling at their teammates to mash faster, to lean correctly because they almost fell off. It makes such a fun party atmosphere. In the Mario Party 2 version, everyone can basically just mash as fast as they can without speaking a word to each other. It's kinda lame. Facelift is such a genius idea for a minigame. Expanding on Mario 64's title screen and turning it into a competitive game is awesome. I do prefer the different character faces in Mario Party 2 compared to just having Bowser in this game, but I'll take it, it's not too bad. It's got great humor potential with the different ridiculous faces you have to make, and it's really fun and quite tricky. I definitely prefer the Mario Party 1 version of Shy Guy Says, even if the Mario Party 2 version is technically superior. In Mario Party 2, there's a lackitude that goes across the screen, which represents how much more time the players have to raise a flag, which is definitely a good addition, and something similar should have definitely been in the Superstars version of Shy Guy Says, but the Mario Party 1 version is just so much more interesting visually. A pirate aesthetic is really awesome, especially compared to the cloud, balloon, skyish aesthetic of the Mario Party 2 version. Gameplay-wise, it's Simon Says, but Simon is a shy guy. It's great. And you already know it's great, so we're moving on. Slot Car Derby is slot cars, and that's awesome. Fun, hectic, skill-intensive because you have to make sure you're not going too fast on corners. It's great. But there's not really anything I can say about it. Mario Party 1's final boss is just this minigame, but you're racing against Toad. Toad's head surgically attached to a slot car is the final boss of a Mario game. It's just the reality we live in, we have to accept it. And in number 1, to absolutely no one's surprise, is Mushroom Mix-Up. This is pretty much the only minigame in this title that absolutely everyone can agree is good. I've even seen some people who hate Slot Car Derby, Shy Guy Says, and how could anyone hate Paddle Battle? But yeah, it's as good as pretty much everyone says. Hectic, fun, cause friendships to be ruined. It's pretty much perfect. I actually prefer Mushroom Mix-Up's aesthetic to Hexagon Heat. I just think the former is much more Mario themed. If you just saw the hexagons and Hexagon Heat out of context, I honestly don't think you'd recognize them as coming from a Mario game if you're not familiar with Mario Party. But multicolored giant mushrooms? That's Mario, baby. Alright, that's the end of the list. Mario Party 1 honestly has some of my least favorite minigames in the series. The list is just polluted by bad single-player games, boring and unoriginal 4-player games, insanely unfair 1v3 games, and ones that will make you spend thousands of dollars in medical bills. There are some great ones here, but pretty much all of them are in Mario Party 2 as well, and outside of Handcar Havoc, basically every single one of those was improved gameplay-wise, even if some have worse aesthetics in my opinion. But at the end of the day, this game was the first of its kind, so it makes sense some things didn't stick. But a lot of them did, and were either amazing minigames in this title, or made amazing in Mario Party 2, or future titles. Speaking of Mario Party 2, that will be the game we rank the minigames from next, so stay tuned. Also, sorry for not uploading in, Jesus, 9 months. Yeah, I made a low-quality video 4 months ago, but that doesn't count. Just a lot of life and mental health stuff got in the way, and made my motivation for this stuff basically go down the drain. But I hope this video will at least allow me to keep up with the uploads, and, like, boost my motivation because, well, I got one out. No promises, though. Sorry.